Uh-oh. It's Thursday, May 25th. It's Zelle Day, y'all. Hey, we're having a little fun. Mike Kennedy's in the building. Be a big day, y'all.
So if Stellar is Swift, what we want to build here is similar to the Visa network that connect all kind of financial network together, where we act as a bridge. So Lightnet is backed by all the leading conglomerate in Asia. We are backed by CB Group, which is one of the largest conglomerate in Thailand, and also the owner of 7-Eleven in Thailand and in other Southeast Asia country. We also backed by Seven Bank, which is a group that owns 7-Eleven in Japan. Also Uni-President, which owns 7-Eleven in Taiwan, Philippines, and China, as well as other leading financial conglomerate like Hanwha from Korea, UOB Bank from Singapore. And the original idea is how do we, because Stellar is a great open financial network, and how do we kind of like using Stellar blockchain connecting to our credit layer. And then we also have another blockchain protocol that we developed with Interstellar called Velo, which act as a bridge asset.
Let's do something like Zelle, where we create a network that sits in the middle, and we go sign up banks across the world. We sign up licensed money transmitters around the world and get them to use our network. Our network sits in the middle. They all use it, and they expose their customers to it. So the same idea of like not disrupting and getting rid of the incumbents, but rather working with them to help them deliver better products, whereas we sit in the middle with this new network. And then we said, okay, what's the best technology to do this with? You can have basically atomic swaps that are basically instantaneous. So you don't have the time lag. It's much cheaper. You know, banks are using still, I don't even know what it is, 50-year-old technology with, you know, Swift, correspondent banking. It goes through multiple hops. We can sign up a bank here and sign up a bank in Indonesia, and they can use the blockchain to instantly transmit that value overseas. And so we said, okay, this is great. We see a problem, we see a solution. And so we really think, you know, the company's called Interstellar, and we're working with companies around the world. You know, some of our main partners, we're working with Lightnet and Velo over in Southeast Asia, who have been fantastic. We're working with Tempo in Europe, working with Cowrie in Africa and Nigeria, we're working with others. And, you know, we've decided that the best blockchain by far to put this on is a Stellar blockchain. So Stellar was custom built for international payments. And so we're utilizing the Stellar blockchain to have the Stellar blockchain and some of the stuff that we're putting on top of it through Interstellar on the top of it, and then working with these institutions to try to move money efficiently, faster, cheaper, etc., cross border.
What's going on, everybody? Happy Thursday. We got a great show today. We got Mike Kennedy, CEO of Velo Labs, and we're going to talk about what does this all mean for the Stellar network, Stellar community, and the future of payments. Yesterday was a great show. We talked about smart contracts. on Stellar. Do not forget, though, that next week we have another live coming up. This is going to be with Jordan Edelstein, the Chief Marketing Officer for the Stellar Development Foundation. So it's going to be really exciting. But today, it's going to be all about Mike Kennedy and the Velo Labs. And I tell you what, I don't know. I've been really excited about this. Been following Mike Kennedy ever since he joined up. Very excited. As you know, he was a co-founder of Zelle. And so I can't lie, after going through everything, I don't know if they call him Mike or Mr. Kennedy. I mean, the resume speaks for itself. Let's go ahead and bring on live Mike Kennedy, CEO of Velo. Mr. Kennedy, how you doing, sir?
I'm good. How you doing, Sam?
I'm doing well. Look, really, truly excited to have you here on the show. How's the weather out there? How you feeling today?
It's good. The weather is great out here in San Francisco. Got some sun, and looking forward to a good day.
Well, as I started off, your resume is impeccable. Some in the Stellar community remembers you as the now former CEO of Interstellar. It's interesting. I remember meeting you out there. This is me and you back in Meridian in 2019.
Yeah.
First time we brought you to the community. But we kind of, a lot of people know you from the Interstellar role, but many may not realize that you also co-founded Clear Exchange, which ended up becoming the largest person-to-person payments network in the United States, known today as Zelle. So I just wanted to, get things started, and I'd love for you to share your background with everybody so they could understand who you are.
Thanks, Sam. Yeah, no, I'm really excited about what we're doing here, and I'd love to talk to you about the background because I think some of it's pretty relevant. As you mentioned, I was the founded a company called Clear Exchange, which was later, Clear Exchange the company, Clear Exchange the network, which was then, rebranded as Zelle, which, as you said, is the largest P2P payments network in the U.S. Last year, 2020, they announced the Zelle network announced it had done 300 billion in transactions. So obviously a large network. And I think that what we did there was very similar to what we can do here, which is not necessarily saying we're going to go disrupt these incumbents because they don't know what they're talking about, or the banks are stupid. We're not saying that. We're saying the banks have some assets. They have a huge customer base. They have some smart people. We have better technology. We have people that can probably innovate more and move faster. And so it's a win-win situation where we can put our technology in the middle and our network in the middle. Stellar is a great network. What we're doing at Velo Labs on top of Stellar is fantastic. And so that they can deliver better products to their customers. And at the same time, we can get all that transaction volume from all their customers onto the Stellar network. So that's why I think that Zelle is probably the most relevant thing in the past. I've also ran North America for OFX, which is an international payments company, global international payments company. So I clearly understand international payments from that. Before founding Clear Exchange, which was, then became Zelle, I was the head of payment strategy and innovation at Wells Fargo. So worked on a lot of things like, digital wallets, biometric authentication, anything that had to do with ACH, credit cards, debit cards, wires, anything like that. It's a lot of things that I think all come together to work well for this, and, this is all coming from starting out in Nebraska, born and raised in Nebraska, and, lived there for a while before I came out to the West Coast. And, I'm really excited about what we're doing here at Velo.
Man, round of applause, y'all. It's one of the things about this space, over the last, let's say, 10 years is, there's always been this gap that I've noticed between, the developers, coders, trying to create these services for the real world. And what really excites me about what you just shared is that you have real world experience. I mean, you've worked with banks, you know what they want, you work with these financial institutions, but at the same time, you recognize the blockchain technology. So this is really exciting. And I love the fact that you mentioned so much of utilizing the Stellar network. So Absolutely. Go Cornhuskers. Absolutely. Shout out BC. That's right. Yeah, yeah. Shout out to the Cornhuskers out there.
I like
Absolutely.
that. I
Absolutely.
like that. Go Cornhuskers. Although I got to say, well, I grew up there and I love the Cornhuskers. I ended up playing football at Stanford, so I like the
Wait,
Cardinal
hold
more.
up. Hold up. You play ball? I missed that one.
Yeah,
What position did you play?
I played safety, defensive back.
Ooh, okay, okay. We could talk about that. I was a DB,
Yeah.
and so
Oh,
yeah,
nice,
yeah, yeah,
nice,
yeah. I was a DB,
excellent.
so I'm a big fan of defensive backs. So we'll have to have a chat about that storyline another time, man. That's great to hear.
Absolutely, absolutely.
That's good. That's good. So so kind of going through that, I can't help but notice though that you've worked at some of the top financial institutions, as I mentioned. Also, one of the top three banks. You worked at Wells Fargo at one point. So it's clear to me that you really could have worked anywhere. So you created one of the top payment platforms that we just discussed. Why come into the blockchain crypto space? What was it? What was it that you saw over here that made you take this leap and put everything on the line?
Yeah, I think that the reality is it's about the technology that's solving a problem. So I think that there's a lot of technology out there. There's a lot of people that are going to startups or starting a company just because they want to start something, or they do it because they got some cool technology they're trying to force on a problem. I always approach it the opposite way, which is where is a problem out there? Where are things inefficient? And knowing as much as I did about payments, and having started a network and worked in international payments, I saw that international payments are extremely inefficient. They're slow, they're expensive. You have migrant workers going overseas, working their butts off, trying to send money back home, and it's taking a couple of days. It's 10% of it's coming off the top in fees. That's just not right. And so I said, what is the best way to fix this? And so started with a problem and then looked for the solution. And when looking at the solution, it was clear blockchain is something that could make this much better. And then looking within blockchain, Stellar is custom made for international payments. That was Jed's idea when he first created Stellar, was to say, international payments is something that can be solved by the blockchain. And so let's build Stellar so that it can solve international payments. So that's what attracted me to it, was there's this problem that I wanted to try to fix. And the blockchain, and particularly the Stellar blockchain, is the best way to do that. And so I said, okay, how do I get involved with this? And I was having a conversation with Patrick Collison at Stripe about, are there things that they're doing at Stripe that would be interesting? And he said, we got some interesting stuff going on here, but what I really need to do is introduce you to Jed McCaleb over at SDF, because you could benefit from what he's doing. He could benefit from what you're doing. He introduced us back in 2017, at which point I became an advisor to Stellar Development Foundation, and haven't looked back since.
Wow, wow, wow. You know what? Hold on, man. I gotta drop the bomb on this one. Hold on. I think that this is important to discuss. Right? This is important to discuss. Is in the crypto Twitter world. It seems like crypto, different blockchains, they go up with hype and up and down, up and down. What's always stood out to me about Stellar is that people like yourself, and we're starting to see this trend. People like yourself that you guys get it. You guys are able to see what Stellar is trying to do, what Jet's vision was, and see it clearly. And so absolutely just exciting to see not only you say these things, but through this this new partnership and leadership role that you have, are going to be probably one of the first to really show how it can be done. So you touched on one thing I was going to ask you, was that I did believe that you were an advisor for Stellar. So you confirmed that absolutely. So let's talk about Interstellar. For those new to all of this, can you explain what Interstellar was and what was the main objective? Let's kind of start there.
No, absolutely. So Interstellar was founded to basically tackle international payments and how to solve international payments and make them better, how to make them more efficient. And Jed McCaleb was the original founder of Interstellar. So not surprising, he also understood the vision and what the potential of the Stellar blockchain was. So it was founded really to improve international payments, likely with using the Stellar blockchain. it existed for a little bit, and then I came on board to be the CEO of it and continued on that vision to say, how can we use the Stellar blockchain to really improve international payments? Well, it has the same, some people sometimes get confused. Well, it has the same founder in Jed as SDF. They are two separate companies. SDF is one company. Interstellar was a separate company. SDF has all the functions. They have marketing, business development, technology, everything else you can think of. So two separate companies just happen to have the same founder, but really was focused on fixing international payments. And so when I came on board, I looked and said, where is the place that we can make the biggest difference? Because, being a realist, I also realized that when you can make a big difference, you can get companies and individuals to switch to your network, to your technology. If it's only a minor difference, you can, yes, argue that technically, if everything's just black and white, it is better. But if it's so small, people won't pay the upfront cost to make the switch. And so I think that what we really realize is that the biggest benefits will come when one or both sides of the transaction is in maybe an emerging market or a market like Africa, Latin America, Asia, particularly parts of Southeast Asia. And so it could be US to one of those countries. It could to one of those continents. It could be those, back and forth between them. It could be Europe to one of them. Those tend to be the best ways to make the biggest difference. Sometimes it's, you might see that there's already some good efficiencies between, like, say, the US and Canada, USD CAD. But if you're going US to Nigeria or Nigeria to Thailand, those are pretty inefficient. So I said, well, how do we really get the best out of those? So, started working with Cowrie in Nigeria, working with Tempo in Europe, but then really got some great things underway with Velo and with LightNet in particular in Southeast Asia. And we're starting to make some great headway there, which, at some point I'm sure we're going to talk about it, obviously, but that's what eventually led to this. But basically, while at leading Interstellar, we spent a lot of time with those guys and helping them, get onto the Stellar network, helping them build a platform on top of Stellar, launching issuing their token on Stellar and other things like that.
Wow. That's big. So yeah, let's talk about that a little bit more. So you did announce on Monday the 15th that Interstellar and Velo were joining forces. So I've seen a lot of comments and questions on social media. I want to ask you a couple questions. I know we haven't talked about this, but hopefully you don't mind if I ask a couple questions about what, some just basic questions that I've been seeing in the community. So for those of you that may not be aware, here is this was the announcement. Interstellar and Velo Labs join forces. So for starters, Mr. Kennedy, what exactly does joining forces mean? Let's talk about that. What exactly does joining forces mean in that announcement? How would you describe that for us?
Yeah, no, I think what it is basically saying, how do you take the best of two different organizations and bring them together and, join those forces together to have this new organization, this combined organization that's going to deliver the best of all. So we think that Interstellar has some of the best technology in the world. We think that we have some of the best people, some of the best technologists, some of the best leadership in the world. We think that Velo Labs has some great people there. We think that they also have phenomenal connections within and network into, in particular, Southeast Asia. We also think that, Interstellar can bring the closeness that we have with SDF and with Stellar and our expertise on Stellar and on the Stellar network and with SDF to bear to this. And so combining that and saying, hey, here's all this expertise, here's what we've been able to do for the last year together as partners. Let's just put these together and then say, what can we do together? We have this expertise, we have these connections, whether it's the CP Group, Seven Bank, Hanwha, UOB, SEBA, SCB, all sorts of connections there that we can bring this together and we can say, how do we now jumpstart what we're each trying to do individually, but do it together as one?
And as you say that, it takes me back to something that Jed was saying, a few years ago, and it's the challenges of creating a network, right? Is if you bring people on one at a time, it makes it difficult because that one person has no one, or one group has no one to talk to. But in what you're
Yep.
saying there and making this kind of connection and tying into that large network, you all are able to just bring, it seems like, a lot of different pieces of the puzzle onto the network together. So I mean, that is exciting. That is very exciting. It's a lot of groups. They're huge. Um,
Yeah. No, I completely
so
agree. I completely agree. I always say that, if one person has a telephone, it doesn't do any good. If you and I have telephones, that's nice, Sam. I can call you every once in a while, but it's okay. There's not a lot of people you can't reach. But if suddenly millions of people have telephones, it's a great thing. It's the same thing
right.
with payments. And that's why I feel that what we did with, the Zelle Clear Change Network was so relevant to this, because we didn't go out and try to line up one user at a time. We said, okay, let's line up some of these large financial institutions like, Wells Fargo, Bank of America, JP Morgan Chase, so that suddenly out of the gates, we could have 40 million people using this network. Can we do something similar here where we can have the Velo protocol, we can utilize the Velo tokens, the digital credits, all sitting on top of the Stellar network, so that now within Velo and with interoperably within overall with Stellar, we now have all these different endpoints, individuals, countries, et cetera, to really make this network that much more useful.
Listen to what he's saying, people. Listen to what he's saying. I mean, I think that this is pretty, pretty big. This is not somebody who is doing this for the first time. What he just mentioned, everybody, just to make sure that you understand this, because I think this is pretty exciting. When he started Zelle, they worked at bringing all of these different banks online at the same exact time. So that way, there was a strong network to navigate. And he said it twice already. This is what his vision is for Interstellar, for Velo right now, to make sure that there's a big network. So I think that that's huge. Very exciting to hear. So you talked about, using the Stellar network a few times. And I think that one of the most interesting questions for the Stellar community is trying to understand, what does all this mean for the Stellar network? Is this announcement a good thing for Stellar, and should the community be excited? How does it help us? That's in a nutshell what people are trying to understand. Help me understand that.
Yes, help me help you. Yeah, no, absolutely, it's a fantastic thing for Stellar, for the Stellar network, for the Stellar community, in my opinion. Everything we're doing is on top of the Stellar network. So the Velo tokens are issued on Stellar. We've already been doing transactions with these Velo tokens. We use, in addition to being on some centralized exchanges, we're also on the Stellar DEX. So there's transaction volume going over the DEX. We're going to be, as I think you've all heard Danelle and Jed and others talk about, one of the key things for the Stellar network is having anchors, and having a number of anchors that can interoperate with each other around the world. Stellar's been doing a great job of bringing on board anchors. But I think that one of the key things we can do is quickly bring on a number of other players into this Velo ecosystem, which is part of the Stellar ecosystem, I guess I would say, so that anything we're bringing on is going to be interoperable with the Stellar anchors in the same way that Stellar anchors are interoperable with each other. So that's, I think, the easiest way to think about it, and why it is so good for the Stellar ecosystem and the Stellar network, is that this is going to help accelerate what exactly Jed and Danelle have been talking about, which is getting more anchors or endpoints onto the Stellar network.
Ooh, that is big. That is big. That is big. That is big. So, I don't think for a lot of you guys listening in, how big this is to be able to get all these anchors onto Stellar. What that means is that businesses, users will have more on and off ramps onto the network. Let me ask you on that. Is there a timeline when we might be able to start to see some of these anchors being announced? Any sort of insight on that just yet?
Yeah, I mean, we haven't announced that, so not able to say a date per se, but I can say that we've been doing transactions. So like I said, we launched the Stellar, and we've launched the Velo tokens on Stellar.
Nice.
We've created digital credits, which is essentially, it's a credit-based version of, the easiest way, I guess, to think about it is like a stable coin. So these digital credits will be one-to-one with the local fiat. So you could have a Velo Thai baht, which would be one-to-one with Thai baht, a Velo yuan, which would be one-to-one with Korean yuan, a Velo yen one-to-one with Korean with the Japanese yen, and etc. We'd have Velo USD, whatever it is. We could have all these different Velo tokens, digital credits, digital credit that would be able to interop with each other as well as with the rest of Stellar. So we've set those up. We're starting to set up the digital credits. We have the Velo token. We have the Velo protocol created, and we've done some test transactions across the protocol. We do have some customers or partners or anchors, whatever you want to call them, that have said we want to do this. We haven't announced dates yet for when that'll go live, but we're very excited about it. And we think it'll be huge. It'll be huge for the network.
Nice, real big. Let me ask another community question. Shout out to Anthony Barker, a good buddy of mine. I know this was a question that he had as well, and I've seen this come up a couple other times. Is will Velo utilize USDC? People want to know.
It's a great question. We are still, to be honest, we're still analyzing that. We're figuring out exactly what the best flows are. I think USDC is a phenomenal stablecoin, and I think that it makes sense given it's on Stellar Network that it would probably be one. We want to use things with lots of liquidity, which it has, but we haven't committed to that yet. But I think it's something that's a natural progression. I'm sure we'll be talking to the folks there.
Nice. Let's talk about another community question. Let's talk about Velo and the Stellar DEX. A community question that's come up is, will Velo utilize the Stellar DEX?
Yeah, absolutely. As I said, Velo is already on the Stellar DEX. So the Velo tokens are on the Stellar DEX. They can be traded on the Stellar DEX today and have been since the day we created them. That's where we created them on Stellar, so they initially went onto the Stellar DEX. So they absolutely will. And the plan is also to have the digital credits that I talked about both on the Stellar DEX, as well as we'll have an internal federated credit exchange, which is a way to exchange the credits as well. But the primary areas will be the federated credit exchange and the Stellar DEX.
Okay, perfect. Let's see, another community question that's come up. It's was mentioned. Let's see here. Over in it looks like the Reddit community. What is the relationship between Velo Labs and Lightnet?
It's a great question. So they're two separate companies. It's kind of interesting because it's somewhat similar to Stellar and Interstellar in a way. They have the same founder. So it's the same founder, Kunchat, who founded it. He's a member of the CP Group family, which for those of you that don't know, CP Group is the largest conglomerate in Thailand. They have a lot of businesses across everything from poultry to 7-Elevens. I think they own all the 7-Elevens in Thailand. They own a lot of different businesses. Kunchat is the founder of both Lightnet and Velo, two separate companies though. Lightnet is looking to, they're basically lining up, I would say, we work very closely together. So they're lining up a lot of institutions to do transactions, whether it be at first over traditional rails, but also over blockchain. We're really the blockchain solution. So we will be their blockchain backbone for any of the transactions they're doing that'll go over the blockchain, which hopefully will get to be close to 100% over time. And then we will also work directly with companies to join to utilize the Velo protocol, which is, again, as I said, built on the Stellar network.
Wow. You said about all the 7. That's huge. That's a huge network, man.
Yeah.
Man, one day when I get older, man, that's exactly what I want to do. I want to own all the 7-Elevens too. Well, this is huge. I know that we have very limited time. I'm really excited about what you guys have set out to do. I'm glad to hear that you're going to be utilizing the Stellar network, which is great. Glad to have you on board, and if you can, just please, keep in touch. Whenever you guys have any other announcements coming up, let us know, and I'd love to have you back on and talk about it some more.
Absolutely, Sam. I love talking to you. I love the Stellar community, and I encourage yourself and the rest of the people out there in the Stellar community to start following what's going on with Velo, because we're all in the same ecosystem.
Yeah,
so
what's the best way to follow you?
Together.
Yeah, what's the best way to follow you guys? Would it be I know you guys have your Twitter handle?
Yeah, the Twitter would be the best way.
Okay, all right. So everybody just follow at Velo Protocol. definitely shout out to Mike. Yeah, BC, thanks for the time, Mike. I agree. Mike, you hold on for a couple seconds. To everybody else out there, don't forget next week, the 31st, we have the CMO of Stellar Development Foundation, the Chief Marketing Officer, to talk about what they have planned. So to everybody else, Mike, Stellar family, we'll talk to you later. Ciao.
Thanks, Sam.